Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, production of iHeartRadio. And we are back with another edition of SMNTY Fiction, which is something that we do about once a month. I think we're going to take a break for the rest of the year because they are more time consuming for Christina. We just wrapped up the the trilogy of Terminus. So if you want to go check that out, they're all out now. If you're someone who likes to binge, this is just a creepy little one shot for Halloween. And yeah, it is. It's got these sound effects that Christina puts in there and makes it amazing. I really enjoyed writing this. You know that Samantha and I love like a good kind of creepy story. I'm trying to really get into the Halloween mood right now. And this was a fun one to write. I do have a big caveat that I'm going to put at the end, but you have to wait to the end to hear it. But if you're listening to this when it comes out, it is Halloween. Happy
Halloween.
Happy Halloween. And let's get into this fiction. It was hard to pinpoint when her life fell apart, when she let things fall apart. And the thing was, by the time she realized it had happened, it was too late. How far back did she have to go to find where things went wrong? Was it a series of multiple bad decisions? Was it a culmination of things outside of her control? The sensation of everything being wrong seeped into her life slowly and then crashed over her like a hurricane. As soon as she graduated college, she moved out of her small hometown and into a small apartment in a big city. While the space was limited, it somehow felt larger than anywhere else she'd ever lived. It was hers to fill. More room to reinvent herself, to try new things, to just exist without every single person whispering about it. Anonymity. Freedom from the expectations of who she was projected onto her by others that trapped her in an internal performance. At first, it was very liberating, like removing an old, heavy, constricting coat. But she soon found out she was putting on a new one, something that felt lighter and less suffocating, until the days it didn't. Until the days the proverbial coat didn't offer the protection she wanted and drew more danger than offered safety, closing around her neck like a noose. To be a stranger in a new place, trying to figure out how to behave, to keep herself safe, to find whoever she was without all of the shared memories and histories that informed her own opinion of herself, was a weight that grew increasingly heavier. Trying to make herself a home, or at least a place to go to feel safe, a task increasingly daunting. Over time, the armor it took to go outside became exhausting, and she stayed in more and more and more. While she couldn't know when things started to go wrong, she did know when she started noticing things. The first instance that stood out in her mind was that the sink would be clean when she went to sleep at night, a pristine white, and in the morning, sponged with black. Every morning, she cleaned it with a tired but grim, detached determination. She purchased a water filter and tried not to think about how long she'd been drinking that water without question. She contacted her landlord and was assured it was normal. So, it just became a piece of her life. A ritual in her mornings. Something to live with. Something to be erased if she had guessed. Nothing to worry about. Nothing she couldn't handle. One day, her smoke detector went off for no reason. No smoke, fresh battery, and still it rang on like a klaxon until she detached the whole thing and a cloud of ash crashed into her face and into her mouth and nose. She couldn't stop herself from breathing it in. Her lungs caught, and she toppled backwards off her stepladder, landing hard on the hardwood floor, pain lancing through her back and head. Ears ringing and blackness encroaching her vision, she struggled to take a breath, coughing harshly, dimly aware the alarm was still ringing. She blinked rapidly to rid her eyes of ash, sucking in air, and the alarm stopped. The air felt heavy in the resulting silence. Sore, she pushed herself to her feet, stumbling to the bathroom to furiously scrub the ash off her face, gagging at the feel of it in her mouth. When she finally could open her eyes, her chest heaving and tight, the first thing she focused on was the black curling and dotting from her sink. So she cleaned that too, just as she had in the mornings, over and over. Her mirror was dirty when she glanced up into it. She didn't care to clean it. As the weather got cooler, she started to notice a series of banging sounds, loud, metallic clanks. They woke her in the night with their sudden demands for attention. In their newness to her, used to her small-town cicadas, the mysterious clangings made her feel small. Was this just something she didn't know about? Was this a normal part of living in a city and she was just ignorant? She lay awake, her skin crawling, on edge, waiting for every unpredictable bang. Then a new sound came. A hissing, sharp in the dark. She shot up in bed, breath catching in her throat. Trembling, she turned towards the source, and in the moonlight she could see swirling steam illuminated in the opening to the kitchen. The hissing got louder and louder. Suddenly, there was the sound of water spewing out in hisses, steam billowing into the small space with frightening speed. It thickened the air until she was coughing again, until she felt like she was drowning in it. She careened out of the bed, the steam hot and sticking to her skin. Her hair grew heavy with dampness, and she was uncomfortably warm. The water collecting on her peeling tile floor made her toes curl. More water poured from the detached radiator pipe in her kitchen. The water was black, with some kind of debris spilling across the checkered white and black floor. Above her, the crack in the ceiling split even further at the dampness. Panicked, she scrambled under the sink for a bucket and put it under the spitting pipe. Bucket after bucket of hot black water collected and poured into the sink. The smoke alarm went off again. She jerked, spilling hot water on herself, burning her skin. Staggering, she poured the water into the sink, the squealing from the pipe spiking into her brain, a sharp, ringing, crescendoing sound until it all stopped. The alarm stopped blaring, the whining, the banging, the hissing of the steam. Slowly, she realized the only sound she could hear was her own ragged breathing, the slow drip of water from the pipe. She cleaned the floor, erasing what had happened. But she couldn't erase the burns on her hands and feet, nor the memory from her mind. It lingered at night, keeping her awake. Over the next few weeks, the radiator would occasionally clang, the pipe would steam and drip. She was assured it was normal. Every morning, she cleaned the sink, and the nights came earlier and earlier. The air was cool, the changing leaves rustling against her windows like fingers, something trying to get in. Searching for normalcy to create a sense of home, she purchased a pumpkin. She had to carry it awkwardly on the walk to her apartment because her car wouldn't start. Another thing to add to her ever-growing list of problems. With a strange sense of dutiful detachment, she scooped out the pumpkin guts and carved a face into it, a grim smile with menacing eyes. She studied the face, staring back at her, wondering at how she felt just as empty as the pumpkin. This empty gourd, held by this empty body, in this empty apartment. The silence was loud in her ears. Her breath fogged in front of her face the next morning when she stood by her car, trying to diagnose why it wouldn't start. The door resisted when she tried to open it. Violent coughs erupted out of her throat when she did so. A puff of dust billowed out, accompanied by the smell of mildew. Blinking, she swiped at her eyes with the back of her hand. The inside of her car was coated in dust and growth that looked like some sort of roots, veins branching off in all directions. Small blue mushrooms sprouted from the vents. Horrified, she slammed the door shut, the wind sending leaves swirling around her. What if she'd breathed in spores? What if it was something toxic? Why was it growing in her car? She locked the door, resolving to deal with it later. Everything would be better later. She would have the strength to deal with it later. It was not soon after that she started noticing the bugs. Small cockroaches skittering out of sight, spiders gone as soon as she saw them. Their numbers were enough to make her skin itch, keep her lying awake, keep her from turning on the lights at night for fear of what she would see. Her apartment getting smaller and smaller. The refrigerator stopped working, and all of her food rotted, filling the space with a sickeningly sweet scent. An array of multicolored molds grew along the walls of the once gleaming white innards of the fridge, flies and maggots feasting on the rot. Her stomach roiled, her throat dry, her body heaving. She closed the door, promising to deal with this problem later. Over the days, the pumpkin slumped in on itself, its face collapsing, slowly, inexorably. Black mold lined the cuts that she'd made, the eyes, the mouth, the nose, the teeth. The smell of rot permeated her apartment. Blue mushrooms, just like those in her car, started to grow from the pumpkin's collapsed maw. Liquid leaked from it, rancid. She cleaned it up, like everything else, covered it up as best she could. But the pumpkin she kept, she couldn't find it in herself to throw it away. Even when dark black vines started to creep from it, along the floors and along the walls, deep purple flowers sprouted around the top, spouting spores into the small space. She breathed them in. She drank the water dark with mold. The cracks in her walls and ceiling split apart, dark veins spilling from them like a spider web. They cracked across her own skin, small blue mushrooms blooming along them. She stared at the pumpkin, her skin melding into the wooden floor, too tired to move, lungs full with spores. She could imagine the mushrooms sprouting in her lungs, an entire colony stealing all of her air. The vines wrapped around her calves, anchoring her to the floor. She could feel the mushrooms dotting her face, her eyes, her ears, the edges of her mouth. She could feel them in her heart, seeking life and growth. At least she was no longer empty. She stared at the pumpkin, rotting and home to new life, and thought, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I let it get so far. But nothing could convince her to move. Nothing could convince her to fight her own rotting, her own consumption, transformation, as the blue mushrooms pushed painfully out of her skin. She breathed, and her breath caught in the steam from the boiler so that she could see spores. Home, she thought. And then she didn't think anything anymore. And that brings us to the end of this short fiction episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. I have to say, the caveat I brought up, this is not a cry for help, I promise. But it is all based on things that have happened in my apartment.
Oh, no.
They are exaggerated, hopefully, obviously, but all of this comes from something that did happen in my apartment. And I got to thinking about how when you condense those things down, it does sound like a haunting. It sounds like something is amiss. And my mom was staying with me last night, and it was funny how many times she'd be like, is it supposed to do that or be like that? And I just would shrug, and I'm like, yeah, I think so.
Another question.
Been living here for 10 years. I don't know. And I've thought that after staying at your place, Samantha, where, sometimes you just have these things that if it was through the frame of a horror movie, everybody in the audience would be screaming at you to get out.
Right.
But when it's just kind of your life and it's, your old boiler's acting up again, all you are is annoyed that the boiler is acting up again.
It's just another rat eating through my dishwasher.
Exactly, which is a thing that did happen to Samantha.
It did.
But you could see that in a horror movie.
Absolutely. As my dog is starting to stare into the void.
Yes. Peaches, she does have that kind of haunted horror movie dog vibe too.
Does. And then she runs.
She'll stare at something, she'll bark, and there's nothing there.
Yep.
Yes. Another thing, we've discussed this in recent and not so recent episodes, horror episodes, but the thing about the mushrooms is actually true.
Mm-hmm.
That did happen in both my car, my refrigerator, and actually a pumpkin. So I exaggerated it a lot. This is not a cry for help, but that did happen.
I like that caveat.
Everybody's going to be like, get out of that apartment.
Right.
Yes. And I realized as we were recording this intro and outro, I haven't named this yet. I will come up with a name, but it is as of yet unnamed. But you will know when it publishes what it is called. Hey. Samantha?
You got this.
I'm proud of you. This. I already have a couple of ideas.
Okay.
We love a good title.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I forgot this.
I know. I can't believe it either.
Actually, usually I start with the title.
That's how that's exactly the thought. It's like I usually think of the title first.
Yeah. I usually do too. I guess I was doing something different. Anyway, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Yes, listeners, we would love to hear from you if you're doing anything fun or if you have any ideas for what we can do with this fiction segment. Please let us know. You can email us at hello@stuffmonevertoldyou.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at Mom Stuff Podcast or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff I Never Told You. We're also on YouTube. We have some new merchandise at Cotton Bureau. And we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer, Christina, our executive producer, Maya, and our contributor, Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.